He was forbidden to love her, yet one kiss could cost him everything. The colony on the edge of the galaxy was not a place of freedom. It was a place of rules, written in stone by human leaders and alien councils who feared even the smallest spark between their people. The colony was meant to be neutral ground, a bridge of peace after long years of war. But everyone who lived there knew it was fragile, like glass that could shatter at any moment. Every child grew up with the warnings. Humans must never cross the old boundaries of the alien bloodlines. No hand should ever touch theirs. No heart should ever grow close, and no word of affection should ever be spoken. To break that law was to invite disaster. And yet he saw her. The young human officer had walked the crowded market of the colony countless times. But today was different. His duty was simple: patrol, observe, and report. He wore the dark uniform that marked him as one of the many guardians of the peace treaty. His eyes scanned every corner but then stopped when they found her. She was standing alone near a stall that sold crystals glowing with faint blue light. Her hair shimmered with strange silver strands, and her skin seemed to hold a faint glow of its own. She looked simple in her quiet posture, and yet there was something about her that froze him in place. He knew her kind. Everyone did. She belonged to one of the most powerful alien bloodlines on the colony, a family whispered about with both fear and respect. They were known for their strict laws, their cold judgment, and their deep hatred for human closeness. For one moment he thought of looking away, of keeping his eyes fixed on duty, but her gaze found him before he could move. She did not look away. Her eyes, deep as the night sky, locked onto his with something unspoken, something forbidden. The officer felt the warnings of his training echo in his mind. Never speak to them. Never give them reason to believe you are more than a shadow in their world. But as the seconds stretched, the colony's noise seemed to fall silent around him. The crowd passed between them, yet her eyes did not leave his. It was as if she was waiting, and the weight of that waiting pressed against his chest until he could no longer breathe steady. When he finally walked toward her, every step felt like betrayal. He was betraying his uniform, his people, and the fragile treaty that kept both sides from returning to war. And yet he walked, unable to stop himself, as if her presence had pulled him into an invisible current. He stopped a short distance from her, careful not to stand too close. He should have saluted or turned or left her behind, but his voice betrayed him before his mind could take control. "Are you lost?" he asked softly. Her lips curved in the faintest trace of a smile, though her eyes did not soften. "Do I look lost, human?" she replied, her voice quiet but steady. The sound of it carried a strange weight, like music that did not belong to this place. He felt heat rise to his face, though he did not know why. He wanted to step back, to break the invisible chain that bound them, but instead he answered, "No, you do not look lost." A silence stretched between them, heavy and full. Around them, the market's hum of voices and footsteps continued, but it felt distant, unreal. He realized that everyone who passed stole small glances at them, their eyes sharp with suspicion. Whispers formed in the air, whispers that he could almost hear but not clearly. He knew what they would say. A human and one of the bloodline standing together. It was not only unusual, it was dangerous. She broke the silence. "You should not speak to me." "I know," he admitted. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Then why do you?" He had no answer. He should have walked away. He should have turned his back and melted into the crowd. But the words that rose in him betrayed what he could not admit. "Because you looked at me." Her eyes softened for the first time, just a fraction, and for a heartbeat she looked almost human, almost close, almost reachable. Then the softness vanished, replaced by a distant coldness that reminded him of who she was and what she represented. She shifted slightly as though preparing to leave, but not before she spoke again. "One word between us can destroy more than you understand," she said. "Do you not fear that?" "Yes," he whispered, and yet he did not move. The air between them grew heavy, charged with something he could not name. He felt his chest tighten as though some great force pressed against him. He had faced war, he had faced violence, but nothing felt as dangerous as the stillness of her presence. In that moment he understood the truth of every warning he had ever heard. This was not a simple meeting. This was the beginning of something dangerous, something that could burn the fragile peace of their world to ashes. And yet, as he looked at her, he could not force himself to believe it was wrong. Her voice broke through his thoughts once more. If you walk away now, you will be safe. But if you stay, there will be no return. He should have walked away, but his feet remained rooted to the ground. His heart, heavy with forbidden longing, knew the choice had already been made, and in the shadows of the market, unseen eyes watched them both, recording the first moment of a story that would shake two civilizations. The night on the colony always carried a weight of silence. Between the towers of steel and the glowing alien gardens, every shadow seemed to hold secrets that no human dared to name. The officer walked alone through those shadows, but the memory of her eyes followed him, heavy and alive, as if her presence had not ended with the market. He told himself again and again that it was a mistake, that he should never have spoken, that his words had crossed a line he could not uncross. Yet the thought of her voice returned with every step. It was not just her beauty that unsettled him. It was the strange pull he could not explain, like gravity bending him toward her no matter how far he tried to walk. Rumors spread faster than sound. By the time he returned to the barracks, he felt them waiting in the air. His fellow officers watched him differently, their eyes sharper than usual. A careless word here, a cold glance there, and he knew that someone had seen him with her. Someone had whispered it into the dark corners of the colony, where secrets always turned into knives. He lay awake long into the night, staring at the ceiling, telling himself that this could not happen again. But deep inside, he knew the truth. The story had already begun, and there was no end that would be clean. The next day, his patrol shifted to the southern district, where the alien gardens stretched in quiet spirals of glowing trees. The humans were not welcome there. It was not forbidden, but every step reminded them they were strangers on soil that did not belong to them. He should have stayed clear, but orders left him no choice. He walked between the trees, his boots pressing into the soft blue grass, and once again he felt it before he saw her, the sense that the air itself had grown heavier, that the silence had become charged. When he turned, she was there, waiting. This time she did not speak first. She only stood with her hands folded, watching him as though she had known he would come. He hesitated, his training burning in his mind, but his voice betrayed him again. "You followed me," he said. "No," she answered calmly. "I was already here." Her words carried a hidden meaning, but he did not ask. He only stepped closer, though every instinct told him to retreat. The glow of the trees cast soft light across her face, and in that light she looked even less like a stranger, and more like someone who belonged in the deepest part of his thoughts. "You should not be here," he whispered. "Nor should you," she replied. The silence that followed felt heavier than any command. His heart beat louder than the wind through the alien leaves, and when she finally spoke again, her words cut deeper than he expected. "My people believe love is weakness," she said. "They say it destroys judgment, that it blinds us to duty. That is why your kind and mine are forbidden. A kiss between us would not be only betrayal. It would be death for both worlds. Do you understand that?" He nodded, though his chest ached with the weight of it. "I understand. Then why are you here again?" He could not answer with words. He could only look at her, and she seemed to read the silence as if it was written on his skin. Her eyes softened again, but only for a breath before she turned away. "Whispers have already begun," she said. "The council watches me. The elders suspect me. They will not forgive even the smallest step toward you." "Then I should walk away now," he said, though he did not move. "Yes, you should," she said, her voice low, almost a plea. But still he stayed. She turned her face toward the glowing branches above them, her expression shadowed by something he could not name. For the first time he saw not just mystery in her but also pain, as though the chains of her bloodline weighed heavier than anyone could see. She lowered her voice until it was barely more than breath. "I dreamed of a moment like this when I was young. I thought it could never happen. Now it has, and I do not know if it is a blessing or a curse." The officer felt the truth stir in him, sharp and undeniable. "It is both," he said. Their words hung in the air, fragile and dangerous like sparks before fire. He wanted to step closer to erase the space between them, but her sudden movement stopped him. She turned sharply, her eyes cold once more, her voice firm. "This cannot go further. If it does, they will not only destroy us, they will destroy everyone tied to us. Do you understand what that means?" He swallowed hard. "I understand." "Then leave," she said. And this time he did. He forced himself to walk back into the shadows of the garden, his heart dragging behind him with every step. But even as he left, he knew the truth. It was already too late. The whispers had begun. The shadows carried their story from mouth to mouth, and soon the council would know. He returned to his quarters with the weight of her words pressing against him. But he also carried something else, something even heavier. He carried the memory of her voice, of her eyes, of the way the silence around her had felt like destiny. He lay in the dark with that memory burning in his chest, and in that burning he understood. He could not escape her now. He could not silence what had already begun. And in the corners of the colony the whispers grew louder, sharper, deadlier. The colony did not sleep, but its silence deepened at night. Towers hummed with faint energy, markets emptied into ghostly rows, and the great alien gardens glowed faintly under a pale silver sky. He walked those paths again, even though every voice inside him screamed against it. He had sworn to himself he would not seek her, that he would not allow his heart to disobey his duty again, but his steps betrayed him. His body moved as if guided by something far stronger than reason. He knew before he reached the edge of the gardens that she would be there. And she was. She stood among the glowing trees, her silver hair catching the faint light like threads of starlight. She did not speak when he appeared, and neither did he. For a long moment they only watched each other in silence. There were no words strong enough to contain what they felt. He thought of the warnings, of the treaty written with blood, of the punishment that could follow a single careless act. But then he thought of the loneliness in her eyes, the way her voice had carried hidden pain, and the way his own chest ached whenever he tried to stay away. Finally she broke the silence. "You came back," she said, her voice soft, almost trembling. "I could not stay away," he admitted. His words were simple, but they carried all the weight of his heart. "You are a fool," she whispered. "Perhaps," he said. She stepped closer, though not too close. Her presence filled the air between them like a storm waiting to break. He could feel his pulse race as he realized how near she was, how dangerous this moment had become. Her eyes searched his face as if looking for an answer he could not give. For a second, he thought she might turn away again, might end this madness before it consumed them both. But then she whispered words that made his breath catch. "Do you know what will happen if we cross this line?" He nodded. "Yes. Do you care?" The question struck him harder than any weapon. He should have answered yes. He should have admitted that he cared, that he valued peace, that he could not risk his people or hers. But when he opened his mouth, the truth betrayed him. "No," he said. She closed her eyes, and in that fragile moment the air between them seemed to tremble. He felt himself moving forward without thought, as though the universe itself had pulled him into motion. Their hands brushed for the first time, and the world shattered into light. A spark leapt between their skin. Not the soft warmth of human touch, but a violent surge of forbidden energy. It crackled through him, burning and cold all at once, flooding his chest with a force that left him gasping. Her eyes flew open wide with shock, and he knew she had felt it too. "You should not have touched me," she said, her voice shaking. "And yet I did," he replied. Her breath came fast, and for the first time he saw fear in her face. But it was not fear of him. It was fear of herself. She raised her hand slowly as though fighting an invisible weight, and let her fingers rest against his chest. The spark flared again, brighter, wilder, coursing through them both. He could feel it pressing against the edges of his soul, threatening to break something that could never be repaired. "We must stop," she whispered. "Yes," he said, but neither of them moved. The distance between them dissolved. He leaned closer, and she did not resist. Her lips trembled as his breath touched them, and for one heartbeat he thought the universe itself might split apart. When their lips finally met, the kiss was not soft. It was fire. It was storm. It was the clash of two worlds that had sworn never to meet. The ground shook beneath their feet. The glowing trees flared brighter than ever, casting shadows across the garden as though the stars themselves had descended. A low rumble spread through the earth, and he knew at once that what they had done was not hidden. Somewhere deep in the colony, something ancient had awakened. She pulled away, her face pale with terror. "We have doomed ourselves," she said. He caught her hand before she could retreat. "Not doomed," he insisted. "Changed." Tears shone in her eyes, though she did not let them fall. "You do not understand. Our bloodlines are not meant to touch. The energy between us, it will not stay contained. The council will know. The elders will see. The treaty will burn." He held her hand tighter. "Let it burn." Her lips parted as if to argue, but no words came. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and longing, as though torn between two fates she could not escape. For a moment she allowed herself to stay, her hand still in his, their kiss still echoing between them like thunder in the distance. Then a sharp sound split the night. A horn, long and low, carrying across the gardens. She froze, her eyes wide with dread. "They know," she whispered. "Who?" He asked. "The Watchers," she said. "They saw us." The silence that followed was heavier than any words. He knew now there was no turning back. What had begun as a forbidden glance had become a fire that could not be hidden. The first kiss had not only crossed the line, it had shattered it, and in the distance, footsteps began to approach, heavy and fast, carrying the promise of judgment. The sound of the horn still echoed through the gardens when the heavy footsteps drew near. He could hear the armored tread of alien guards moving swiftly through the glowing trees, their weapons humming with energy. She pulled her hand from his at last, her face pale and tense, but her eyes lingered on his for one last heartbeat. Then she stepped back, her voice cutting through the night like a blade. "You must go. If they find you here with me, they will kill you on sight." He should have run, but his body refused to obey. "And what about you?" he asked, his voice tight with fear. "They will not harm me," she said, "but they will lock me away. They will strip me of everything. Do you not understand?" This kiss was not only ours. The Council felt it. The energy we unleashed will reach them. Already they know. Before he could reply, the guards burst through the trees. Their tall figures glowed faintly with the same strange energy that had flared between him and her. Their weapons raised at once, but they did not fire. Instead, they stopped, their eyes narrowing with suspicion. One of them barked a command in their tongue, a harsh sound that seemed to scrape against the silence of the garden. She stepped forward at once, her posture cold, her voice firm. "I was meditating," she said sharply. The human was leaving. "He has no part in this." The guard's eyes swept between them, doubt flickering in their stare. The air was heavy with danger. For a moment he thought they would strike him down anyway. But at last they lowered their weapons. With a slow warning glare, they turned and moved deeper into the trees. Their steps faded, but the weight of their suspicion did not. She turned back to him quickly, her voice urgent. "You must leave the colony tonight. If you stay, they will hunt you until they find you. And when they do, it will not be only you who pays. It will be your entire people." His jaw tightened. "I cannot just run." "You must," she said. "Do you not see? The kiss was not just between us. Our bloodlines carry power meant to stay apart. When they touched, the force escaped. It spread through the colony like a signal. The Council will take it as proof that humans cannot be trusted. War will return." He shook his head. "We have lived too long under their rules. Every law, every wall, every warning has been about fear. I will not run from what I feel. Not now." Her expression cracked just for a moment, and he saw the longing she had hidden for so long. But then she looked away, her face tightening again with the cold discipline of her people. "Your courage will not save you. It will only destroy you, and I do not want to watch you die." He stepped closer, his voice low. "Then stand with me." Her breath caught, but she shook her head. "You do not know what you are asking. To choose you is to betray my blood, my people, everything I was born to protect. And to walk away is to betray your own heart," he said. The silence between them grew heavy once more, filled with the weight of impossible choices. Somewhere in the distance the horn sounded again, and this time it was joined by the deep hum of engines. She flinched at the sound. "They are calling the Council," she whispered. "It has begun." He followed her gaze toward the sky. Above the colony, lights began to gather, faint at first but growing brighter. Alien ships moved into position, their sleek forms cutting across the stars. The sight filled him with dread. He knew what it meant. The Council was preparing to act. "They will come for you," she said. "They will come for both of us." He took her hand again, ignoring the spark of forbidden energy that surged at the touch. "Then let them come. We will face them together." Her eyes searched his face, torn between fear and desire, between duty and love. For one breath she seemed ready to pull away. But then her grip tightened on his hand, and he knew her choice. She had stepped beyond the boundary with him. There was no return. The cost of that moment revealed itself at once. The ground trembled, a low vibration that spread through the colony. Lights across the city flared brighter, and alarms began to sound in both human and alien quarters. People rushed into the streets, looking to the skies, whispering in fear. The fragile peace was breaking. She turned back to him, her voice steady though her eyes glistened. Do you see now? One kiss has done this. One kiss has shaken two civilizations. And if one kiss can do that, he said, then perhaps it means we were never meant to be enemies. Her lips trembled as she tried to answer, but no words came. Instead, the roar of the ships above drowned out everything. The council had arrived, and with them came judgment. The colony that had stood as a bridge between two worlds was no longer safe ground. It had become the battleground of desire, and every soul within it would pay the price. And as the sky filled with fire, he held her hand tighter, knowing that the cost of their love was only beginning. The night sky above the colony was no longer calm. Ships of the council hung like silent predators, their dark shapes blocking out the stars. Searchlights swept across the city, casting long shadows against the steel towers and alien gardens. The air was filled with fear. Humans gathered in the streets, whispering of broken treaties and the return of war. Aliens watched from their windows, their faces cold but their eyes uneasy. Everyone felt it. The peace that had held their world together was breaking apart. And at the center of it all stood the young officer and the alien girl, their hands still clasped as if refusing to let go even as the universe turned against them. He felt the weight of her trembling fingers. She was afraid, though she tried not to show it. Her eyes were sharp, her posture proud, but her hand betrayed her. He wanted to tell her it would be all right, that they could survive this storm, but even he could not lie to himself. This was no longer a secret moment stolen in the shadows. Their kiss had become the spark that set two civilizations on fire. From the sky, a deep voice rolled through the colony like thunder. It was the voice of the council, magnified and cold, echoing from the ships above. The treaty has been broken. A human has touched what was forbidden. This union cannot exist. To protect order, we demand judgment. The girl closed her eyes at the sound. She knew what came next. The council would demand her punishment and his execution. Their laws were absolute. There would be no mercy. He tightened his grip on her hand. We do not have to accept their judgment, he said. She turned to him, her voice breaking. You do not understand. The council rules with power older than your people have ever known. They will destroy you, and then they will destroy your kind for daring to defy them. Then let them try, he said, his voice steady. For the first time, a faint light flickered in her eyes, not fear but hope. She shook her head as though refusing to believe it. But the hope remained. You cannot fight them. You are only one man. Not one, he said. Two. She looked at him, her lips parting in silence. The truth hung heavy between them. Together, their blood carried a power that neither of their peoples had dared to face. It was dangerous, forbidden, and unstoppable. They had felt its spark in a single touch. If that power grew, it could rival even the council. The ground trembled as columns of light shot down from the council ships. Alien guards filled the streets, their weapons aimed at the humans who gathered in fear. One by one, the humans raised their hands in surrender. The fragile balance was tipping toward destruction. The officer stepped forward, pulling her with him. His voice rose, not in anger but in defiance, carrying across the silent crowd. You call this peace, he shouted to the sky. But it was never peace. It was chains. You made rules to keep us apart because you feared what might happen if we stood together. And now you fear it even more because it has begun. The voice of the council roared back. You have chosen death. Release her now and perhaps your people will be spared. He looked at her, his heart heavy but clear. This was the choice. He could let her go, sacrifice love for the safety of millions, or he could hold her hand and embrace the storm that would follow. Her eyes searched his, waiting for his answer. She wanted to believe, but fear still bound her. He raised her hand high, his voice steady. I will not let her go, not now. Not ever. A shockwave burst through the air, brighter than lightning, shaking the city to its core. The spark between them flared again, stronger than before. Energy spilled from their joined hands, spreading like fire across the streets. The ground cracked, lights shattered, and the guards staggered back, their weapons powerless against the force. The humans gasped in awe. The aliens stared in terror. The girl's voice trembled as she looked at him. This is the power they feared. It is real. Then let it be ours, he said. The council's ships opened fire, beams of burning light raining down upon the colony. But as the blast struck, the energy surrounding them rose like a shield. The fire bent and broke, scattering harmlessly into the sky. The crowd cried out in disbelief. The humans, long crushed under alien rule, saw hope for the first time. The aliens who had believed their council untouchable now saw cracks in their power. She turned to him, her voice filled with wonder and fear. Do you see what we have done? We are no longer just lovers. We are a weapon. No, he said softly. We are more than that. We are a choice. The blast from the sky grew fiercer, but still they stood untouched. Their shield flared brighter, feeding on the strength of their bond. Around them, whispers spread through the crowd, whispers not of fear but of defiance. Humans raised their voices, chanting his name. Some of the aliens lowered their weapons, their faces shaken by what they had witnessed. The council roared in fury, their voice trembling with rage. You cannot defy us. You will tear the galaxy apart. The officer raised his voice once more. Then let it be torn. For too long we have lived under fear. Tonight we choose love over law, freedom over chains. If our kiss can shatter your order, then perhaps your order was never meant to last. The shield flared one final time, brighter than a star. The council ships staggered, their beams collapsing under the weight of the energy. The sky was filled with light, and for a heartbeat it seemed the whole galaxy held its breath. When the light faded, the ships were gone. The council's voice had fallen silent. The colony stood in stunned stillness, caught between awe and dread. The girl looked at him, tears shining in her eyes. What have we done? He held her hand tighter, his voice calm though his heart thundered. We have chosen, and now the world must choose too. The final choice was no longer theirs alone. It belonged to every human, every alien, every soul who had witnessed the night the forbidden kiss changed everything.